Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Behnaz Rohani, and I'm the AMATIC Professional Development Coordinator, and welcome to our faculty meetup. I lost the count of, hi Chris, count of how many sessions we had so far, but I have learned a lot myself, and I have gotten to know so many of my wonderful faculty around the nation. So basically today we are here to see what we have learned throughout, gosh, the last so many months. What were our challenges? What were our learnings? Maybe we all can share and see where we can go from here, because it's through these learnings that we become better. At least this is how it is for me. I am who I am because of all the mistakes I have made in the past. I'm so glad all of you here, so many familiar faces, my board members that I have served with them for 2 years. So glad to have you on board. So here we go. Floor is open. Let's see who wants to go first. I'm going to talk to the minimum because this is, as you have seen on the announcement, I'm just a moderator. So you're not here to hear me. You are here to hear each other. So I want to hear from each and every one of you what have worked for you and what have not. And then we'll go from there. Yes, go ahead, Angie.
Thank you. Well, I'm wondering if any of you have any ideas or suggestions in online college algebra courses, sort of courses at that level. How do you get students to interact in a meaningful way with one another? Do you utilize discussion boards in a meaningful way? Just if any of you have something that's working, I'd love to hear it.
Synchronous or asynchronous classes?
This is asynchronous.
I'm a big fan of discussion boards. I have some prompts I could send you if you want. I've been doing them with liberal arts classes, calculus classes. Starting with week 1, they read through the syllabus and they discuss any questions they have with each other. And I only join in after the due date to answer any questions that haven't been answered. And then I have some that are post first, they're sort of quiz-like, but the students have helped me kind of tweak and modify the posts that I give. And it's turned into their discussion board. And again, I'm just kind of the moderator, and it really gets them talking with each other. And they're surprisingly supportive of each other. I'm really just so touched when I read their responses and the communication they have.
Wow. Now, are these content-based or no?
Are they what?
Are they content? They're
Yes.
related?
Well, they're both. They're both. They have some about study tips, some about orientation. The content-based, I used to write myself, but now I ask them to write their own problem based on something they saw in the news or read or they're concerned about. So they'll create a problem and then another student solves it. And then I go in and check and make sure, I leave comments about whether it's correct or not.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it part of their course grade?
It is, and I have a grading rubric. It used to just be minimal points, but they like it so much, it's now equivalent to a full test grade.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that's not working well is testing. I mean, we use HonorLock. I wonder what everyone else uses and what's your experience with testing? I feel like cheating is just rampant.
We have HonorLock also. The college purchased being able to use it for everybody. So the college paid for it, so the students don't have to pay for the proctoring. And it's a hassle to get them to first get used to using it. I do set up a quiz, a practice quiz. And I said, be sure to do this one before you try to do the test. And there's a video that goes with it and everything, but they still have problems. They say, where's the password? And I go, you don't enter the password.
I do my own proctoring. What works for me is I have them show me the room, including under their desk. And then during the test, they turn the webcam to show their hands. So I know if their hands are reaching for a phone or typing on a keyboard, that they're not doing something they're supposed to be doing. So if I don't get a chat, message within just a few seconds, then I'm on there going, why are you on the keyboard? So that's been really effective because they can't type anything in because I'm watching their hands, and they like it better because they don't feel like I'm staring at their face the whole time. They don't care if I'm looking at their hands, but they don't want, to see the face. And I just have it far enough away that you can't see what they're writing. You just see that they're writing, if that makes sense.
So do you have them turn in handwritten exams then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And then they upload it as a PDF. And I do a similar thing where I have a practice. I have them upload their photo ID and another sheet of paper and practice converting it into one file.
I use Respondus Monitor. This our school bought it through Blackboard. It's been okay. I don't know, it's the first time I've used it, and I have them put answers in the Blackboard test and also submit supporting work. And the supporting work needs to be within 20 minutes of them submitting the test. So they don't have much time to play around, and their supporting work has to match. They had to put like answers in the answers for the test, the Blackboard test, but then they have to everything has to match basically. And they have a short assessments, frequent short assessments, but they give them an hour. So I don't know if they're cheating or not, but they're not doing that well, so maybe they're not.
What class is that for? What level?
For that, I mean, it's trig, but college algebra, our school, I'm doing a support, a co-requisite, so we're using Alex. So we're using Respondus and Alex. I will say that it does not work with Chromebooks yet, so I have to sit and watch, 2 or 3 students per class while they take the assessment, instead of them doing it using the lockdown browser.
Actually, it does. We're using Respondus. We're using the Respondus Monitor at CCBC, and it does. There's a setting now in there that you can click on that says it's available for Chromebooks, just like the iPad.
Right.
And it works for the most part, but I agree that but I have problems with it with some of my students for other reasons, and I still do have the cheating. But I would advise everybody to look on Chegg and Bartleby's and places like that, because you'd be surprised. Your test questions might be up there with complete solutions, especially if you're using some sort of a test generator or something like that. They're all up there. And there's ways for them to do this during, like, even Respondus Monitor, like taking Post-it notes and putting them around the screen. You'd be surprised what they can do. And so I'm just perfectly happy that most of my my remote classes are now back in person, because I'll minimize that.
Well, I will say that I know it's available for Chrome, but when I talked to our IT, they said it isn't, so they're not implementing it at our school.
Wow.
They chose not to then, yeah.
Yeah.
So Chris or Banaz, that might be an idea for a future meeting. How can we help faculty find out places where their students might be using and cheating. Like everybody says Chegg, and I think I'm signed up for an account, but I never really got in to start to look around to see what's there. And, you know, if Christine and a couple other people said, well, you know, Christine could say, here's how I go into Chegg and check to see, you know, find my name. And I know there are a couple of other ones, but I think that could be a real popular, help me find out some of these ways my students are cheating other than during the test, you know, putting stuff on Chegg and so forth. And Chris will gladly run it, won't you, Christina?
Yeah, that would be fun, wouldn't it? There's one thing that I do want to warn you guys about. Bartleby's, apparently, if you have Barnes and Noble College as your bookstore, you might want to go in to where they have the listing for the books and click on it and see if Bartleby's comes up as we recommend. Okay, because it makes it sound like the college is recommending that students use that site.
Oh.
I never heard of it before.
Yeah,
Ah,
Bartleby is owned.
it's
Oh,
owned
sorry.
by Barnes and Noble. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you
And-
spell that? How do you-
It's like-
BARTLEBY''S. I'll put it in the chat.
I tried that over the summer, and you have to opt out of subscribing to Bartleby 3 times before you buy a textbook, which it makes me glad I use OER materials so that my students aren't buying anything there. But one disadvantage from the student perspective for Bartleby is that it usually takes a lot longer to get an answer back than from Chegg. With Chegg, they have so many people working for them that they can get an answer back in sometimes 15 or 20 minutes and then post that for their exam. And I've removed over 1,000 questions now from Chegg for myself and my colleagues that we found on there. And it was really bad over the summer. And now that we've cracked down, our students are using it less because they know they'll get in trouble. But
There you go, Banaz. Maybe Jeff could help out a session on that.
Yes.
I could I could probably give a master class on it by now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea, actually.
Yeah.
Really, Dan, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Some quick tips are, if you write your own questions, or at least you rephrase the questions in a way that when you Google search them before the test, they don't show up anywhere. Then when you search after it, it's easy to find, oh, that's my version of the question and not something that somebody across the country was using from some textbook or something. So
Right.
that's one way to check it. And if you're using some sort of automated homework system, I use WAMAP, which is the local version of MyOpenMath, but where each student gets a different set of numbers for the question, that also can help, because then you can track it down to, oh, it must be that student because they had these numbers in their question who posted it.
Yes.
Students can also use a PhotoMath app. And if the student has OneNote on their computer, I don't know if anybody uses OneNote. I actually just use it whenever I do my lectures for my online class. And you can type in a function or equation and select the math button. And then it asks you what you want to do with it. So you can, depending on what the equation or function is, it'll factor it for you, it'll integrate, it'll solve, and it'll show you all the steps.
Thanks for that, because I use OneNote for the notes for my students in class.
Yeah.
So when I'm teaching, I actually don't utilize that math button. So to turn it into a function or equation where it looks pretty, you know, with the italics text, because
No,
I don't want them to recognize what the math button does.
See, I don't use that at all. I don't use the math button, but I use OneNote. And my students are pretty savvy. So about technology for the most part. So something tells me I ought to sort of watch and see if any of them come up with OneNotes of their own. Right now, they're just using mine and it's all handwritten, but who knows?
The issue I had when I was when we started using the Spondus Monitor is that some students, because the system asked them to show their ID, And for few students, their ID was not very clear, or they just bypassed that. So I got suspicious of a few. So I started watching the videos, and then I started going to Banner and checking the students' ID there, their picture there with what they posted. And lo and behold, I came across one particular student. The picture on Banner was a lady picture, but what was the person taking the exam looked like a man. But then I thought to myself, maybe I am hallucinating. Maybe, you know, the person has a different hairdo. So I sent it to my chair. I said, what do you think? These two? And she said, surely these two are two different people. Why you ask? I said, this is the person who took the exam. And immediately I filed the dishonesty, you know, form. I filed it. And as when I emailed the student that I'm filing dishonesty because of this issue, that the person who someone else was taking the exam for you, she completely disappeared, never showed up, never logged into the course. So from then on, I ended up watching every single video. Can you imagine? I mean, at the end of semester, how many students I have to go in and look at their videos. And of course, some students, there are no pictures for them on Banner, so that makes it even harder. But yeah, those are the dilemmas I have been finding, because before we used to use ProctorU, and that one, a human is watching them. So that was the issue I have been dealing with, and found that to be very difficult.
So that brings up a second question that I've always had. Okay, you caught him cheating, now what?
Yeah.
Do you give him a 0? Do you, like I went with about 5 years ago, a 0 tolerance policy. If you get caught once, you're done. Because otherwise you kind of, in my opinion, encourage them, well, go ahead and try it until you get caught. Then I'll give you a 0 on that one. And then if you do it again, I'll kick you out. And I found the 0 tolerance policy, and, you know, let them know up front, you cheat, you're out. You know?
Absolutely. It's, well, of course, it's not as easy as that, because for us, when we file it with our chair, then this has to go through a committee. Then the committee asked, they would review the form and your syllabus and everything. Then they would want to see the video. So I had, and with this student, I recommended that she gets a 0 on her midterm. And so it went all the way up, and they approved, but anyhow, the student didn't show up. But I had another, the previous semester, and that student was actually, was sitting in a living room. Everybody were coming and going. She would talk on the phone. She had her baby on her side. People will come look at her exam. And she was basically talking all the way, and she would be singing to herself. I mean, it was like she was in a good mood taking the exam, and she was having, you know, her phone was on, ringing, so really didn't know what's going on. So anyhow, I filed for her the case of dishonesty, and it went all the way to the committee, and the committee asked for the videos. So, and the committee, they were split. Some were saying that this does not apply. Anyhow, majority of the members on the committee, they said, yes, she should get a 0. And that was pre-calculus. So then she got a 0, and then they informed me that, yeah, you can assign a 0, and that's it. That was the final, in fact. So yeah, but your syllabus must be very tight. You know, so all these things must be mentioned very clearly on your syllabus, that this is the department policy. And so when they ask for the syllabus, you know, it's no problem. It was all there. But yeah, so I don't know what others are doing in this regard.
I want to add in what you were saying about putting it in your syllabus. Our college requires that it be in your syllabus, whatever you plan to do. And then on top of that, what we do is we fill out something called a student incident report, which we lovingly call a SIR. And on that, we have an Office of Judicial Affairs, basically. That's what they used to be called. They have another fancy name now. And what you do is you report them, okay? And in there, you state what kind of discipline you've done, so that it's for the record, technically. And then you can say, you know, for example, you can say, well, I've already taken care of this in my class, or I want to bring it to the judicial board or whatever and have a hearing, especially if it's something really egregious. And the reason they want us to do that is because they keep a running record of incidents that students have been reported with. And then even if the instructor says, I've already taken care of it, like Benaji said, that you just give them a 0 for the midterm, and you say, well, I've already taken care of it. I've given them a 0 for the midterm. The committee doesn't need to do anything. But if they notice that this person's been cheating in other classes, or similarly, or even just reported for cheating or some other real infraction, they will call the student in and they'll talk to them. In some cases, they've expelled the students from the college, you know, for something as minor as using a cell phone when the syllabus told you not to, for a calculator, okay? Simply because in previous courses or in other courses that semester, they've been reported for cheating. And it's been enough times. It's not like 1 or 2, it's like enough times that they say, that's it, you're out, you can't come back.
Based on what you guys are saying about the videos, I'm kind of glad I do the proctoring myself.
Yeah.
I did try videos one time, but and like Benaz was saying, I spent so much time watching the videos. Every time they coughed, sneezed, their chair squeaked, that I was like, I'm not doing this again. And then I know if they've got other people in the room, I make them show the whole room 360 degrees under the desk. They show me their calculator if I allow one on that type of test, and I verify it's the right kind. And then I see their hands. So if their hands disappear, I'm on the chat window going, where are your hands? And so I don't have a lot of the issues that you guys are talking about. It's really solved a lot of that for me. But I did not know about the OneNote. That worries me now. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Joanna, another thing to keep an eye on is I give 3 bonus points to the student that reminds me to turn the chat off when I proctor live, because the chat's still on. And, you know, I found out the hard way. Students said, you know, you left the chat on. And I'm like, oh, crap. Okay,
Well,
somebody
you can set it. You can set it so they can only chat to you. So that's how I do it. They can only chat with me. But yeah, you can forget.
Yeah, they're interactive. So when the test rolls around, I always forget. So I'll put it on them. Somebody needs some points, remind me to turn the chat off.
Yeah, that's good.
Sneaky little rats.
Wow. So what kind of learnings have you all had during the past few months? I mean, what did you learn that, even if it's a very small, minute thing, something you didn't know before, that
global warming's not real.
The what?
I said global warming is not real. I just finished shoveling.
Yeah, do you have the ice?
No.
Now we got the ice.
Yeah, I know. You're just south of me, but no.
Yeah.
Glad I'm not in Houston.
Yeah. Aren't we all?
Sorry, Benaz, I'm messing up your meeting. Go ahead.
That's okay. That's perfectly okay.
It's actually something we've learned.
Yeah. Yeah, no more snow days.
Yes, no more snow days. Yeah.
No more sick days almost, really.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how much information people want. You know?
Learned one thing. I videotape my classes, which I've always done that, and students really like it. But I have the ability, we have a projector screen in our basement, and so we're still remote, and we may be remote for a while because things are not so great in Colorado. And I videotape myself teaching in front of the screen. So I can project my notes on the screen, but I can also handwrite on my notes. And so they get both the screenshot of what I'm writing on, but they can also see me. And my students really, really like that. I think the disembodied hand moving and also not being able to see the person was really bothered them a lot. And they all said, no, 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 we want to be able to see you. So that interpersonal connection it's been big.
They've never said that to me.
Johanna, I think you do it the professional way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do it the best way possible. Yeah.
I use a doc cam. Does anybody else use a doc cam? Yeah, I think that's huge.
How much do those things cost?
About $100.
Is that all?
Yeah. It's just a little scrawny little thing on a piece of metal. Works great.
Wow.
Where'd you find it? Online?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I also bought a microphone, sort of like Jeff has.
Mhm.
Yeah, makes me sound more professional, like a disc jockey or something.
Or at least look more professional. But yeah, the
Exactly.
microphone was only like 60 or 70 bucks, I think. And I think I have exactly the same doc cam that you have, which I use as a webcam too when I need to. But for writing math out, I use Jamboard from Google, which is nice because then I can share that document with the students and so forth. But I have a tablet too that, of course, to write on. So.
Yeah, yeah. I have
The
the little
Wacom things
tablet.
are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Wacom or Wacom, I don't know how you say
Yeah,
it. The cent-
Wacom.
And then there's a thing called Open Board. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's super fantastic if you're allowed to download it on your computer. It's open source, so it's free. And it was designed by teachers for teachers. And
What's
so
it
you
called?
can open board. And so you can have on one side, you can have your notes, and then you have a whole nother space where you can work out the problem and they can see the notes and the problem at the same time.
Oh,
And then you can save it all as a PDF and send it to the students later or whatever. And so that's been really good.
wow. And you have been using that, Johanna?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, a colleague recommended it to me. She said it changed her life, you know, in the pandemic. She really, so I've just started using it. So, but it's good. It's good. It's got everything you want. You can use different colors. It's easy to use. It makes sense. You can make things bigger. You can make them smaller. You can import different documents into it, like a Word doc or anything. And then it'll show it on the side.
That is awesome.
Does anybody use the whiteboard with Zoom?
I did last semester or last year in September, but the thing is I can't use it. Well, they're taking away our Zoom. And so I've had to use Teams, which is why I've been using OneNote. And what I do with OneNote is I have a notebook for each course or for each class, not for each course, but for each class. And then each tab, each section is the date for the notes. And then I share the notebook. So that's why the other is very interesting. I hope my students don't figure it out. But then they can go to the specific date. And then with the video is streamed. So it's all included in this whole thing. So they can go and get the video and go through the video again with the notes that I was writing as I was writing them. Because of my Echo Pen, I used to use the Echo Pen to give students solutions and talk through at the same time. And that's why I learned to like that kind of a interaction where they can see and hear at the same time.
That's awesome. The only thing I have been wearing out was those headsets. I have been, they get old, I have to throw them out. And sometimes my ears, they hurt like anything having this headset on them. But yeah, gone through several of those in the past few months. But of course, with the number of Zooms, at least because I'm fully online, I never step onto any classroom But of course, I had to go. They had the opportunity of going to campuses, for meetings, but even that one was gone. So everything was in WebEx or Zoom. So it just made it even more. The online meetings was even more. But yeah, so these are great pointers. That is awesome. That is awesome. How about the students? Did you see any difference in the type of students you were getting? Any differences between the students that you had during the past few months and the previous semesters?
Being remote, my attendance is way up.
Oh,
I found a super increase in attendance.
really?
Yep, it's easy for them to just roll out of bed and jump on instead of driving, students anywhere from 10 to an hour and a half I would get. So yeah, my attendance is much better.
Can I ask how you encourage attendance?
Attendance,
How do you encourage it?
I sit there and I show them that I'm taking attendance at the beginning of every class. I announce, oh, look, we still have 18 out of 20 perfect attendances. This is cool. This is one of my best classes ever. And the more you keep showing up, the easier it's going to be. And I make a big to-do about attendance at the beginning of every class. Yeah.
I give an activity grade. I mean, they send out in groups all the time, and using Zoom this semester as opposed to I was using Collaborate, which is not very good. In my trig classes, I'm having more people come because that's where I have the activity grade. And it's not much. It's really like a small percentage of their grade, but they're very worried about missing it. And then we do stuff in class and I only give it to the people who are there. So, I mean, I record the stuff, but they don't get the actual paper with the stuff on it. So I figure if you come, that's what you get for coming. I'm not going to give it to you otherwise. So I've had okay attendance in my trig classes. I still have some students in my trig and in my college algebra are like, well, it's online, so why do I have to come? Doesn't that mean that I can just learn it on my own? And those are the people obviously who are not doing as well. No matter how many times you try to explain to them, you need to come. And I flip my class. So the lectures, no matter even in person, they're flipped. The lectures are not, I don't give my lectures, they have to watch them, but they come to class to understand how to do the things, we practice.
I offer, they get to drop their lowest test if they have fewer than 3 absences. And we're like a 4-day-a-week class, so it's 3 or 4 depending on the semester. And I have fantastic attendance because they want the ability to drop that lowest exam. So yeah, they come. The only thing I struggled with is my college algebra students. They're struggling staying focused.
I think part of that is because they're probably younger in the school year, and so they don't know how to. They're still learning how to do time management and expectations and all that stuff. So it's just a maturity of learning more than anything else, I think.
So are these classes, Johanna and Dan, your classes are synchronous or asynchronous?
They're synchronous.
Oh,
yeah.
They are synchronous.
So they hear me and see me in real time. So yeah, the dog sometimes comes in for pets. They think it's hilarious, but you have to roll with it. It's just the way it is.
Yes. Yeah.
But my college algebra is not synchronous. My college algebra is asynchronous. And I think that's part of the reason they're struggling too, as well as not being as mature. I've tried doing like weekly videos of, hey, here's what's going on this week. And that does seem to have helped. But it's still a struggle.
There's a question here that what do you do to get students to turn on their cameras? Or do you?
I struggle a lot with that in the main room, but when they go into their breakout rooms, it's only 3 or 4. And a lot of times I pop into each of them because I set a timer at how long they're going to be doing whatever I'm having them do. So I'll pop in, I said like, well, turn on your camera so you can see each other. Don't you want to know who you're working with? And actually most of them will. And it's kind of cool. Like they talk to each other and one of them will share the document in Zoom so they can all work on it together. So it's much better this semester. I think they're getting used to having to be like, this is not going away. Right? So they have to be online. I mean, we have such a small percentage of classes in person, and it's not for no math classes. So it is what it is. Not all of our college algebra co-requisite, the instructors do not have to meet with the students, but I feel it's really important. And I think they appreciate it because I know about them. I ask about them. I know about their personal life, and I can talk to them. And I think making that connection gets them to come to class and gets them to try.
I heard someone was saying that, we cannot ask students to turn on their cameras. This is due to privacy issues, because some of them, they don't want, because especially if you are recording the session, they don't want.
I make sure my students are not in the recording. There's a setting that you can use. It is
Right.
tricky to figure out, but what you do is in Zoom is you spotlight the video. And then when you share the screen and it opens the small thing, you click on active speaker. So it only shows me. But I ask my students to turn it on because I tell them how hard it is to teach without facial expressions. But in Colorado, there's a lot of mountains, and some of my students, if they tried to do that, they would lose me. And so, because their Wi-Fi is not very good. And so the only time they have to have it is on exam days. And then no one's speaking or anything. So, but otherwise, I have maybe half the class with it on and half with it off.
Yeah, bandwidth is a big issue. And also depending on where they are, we allow students, of course, to come to campus and we have specialized rooms with carols set up for the students. And we will even provide earbuds with microphones if they don't have them. And we don't take them back, so don't worry about that. Anyhow, sometimes it's impossible for them to be able to speak or anything or show their face, except for during exams. Now, what we do have is some of those study carols are specifically for people taking exams, so that we can monitor them with Respondus Monitor. So they're actually, we have to watch out for that. So having students interact, by speaking and everything is a real problem, especially when the students are there. But my students will turn on their camera when they want to ask a question, or after the session is over, as soon as I stop recording, they go, oh, okay. And they come right back up. So the ones that are there, the ones that aren't there, I have to talk to them for a half an hour and see if they come back. And a lot of times they've admitted without having the visual on, they have admitted that they turn on, they come in because they get counted for being in attendance, but then they go to sleep. They go off and make breakfast or lunch or dinner. They put the kids to bed. There's a lot of things that they do while I'm trying to talk. It's kind of interesting.
I had that problem the very first semester, when we went into COVID, so we were half and half. I had people coming in and even when I put them into groups and they sort of weren't there. But it's different in Collaborate, it just puts them there. In Zoom, they have to accept. So, and they've learned, right, that I don't just do one time in groups. I pop in and out and in and out and in and out. So you never know when you're going. And which is part of my strategy. And the other thing is if they're still sitting in the room and haven't accepted, I'm saying, Mario, are you there? Are you okay? Is everything okay? So I think they've learned that, that I'm keeping an eye on who's going to the room and who's not.
I'd be halfway tempted to say, I don't hear you, I'm calling 911.
I use the chat. I'll add random points within the lecture because I don't lecture much. I'm very informal. They know they can interrupt me if they have a question. I'll just ask a very simple question like, are we looking for the greatest common denominator or the least common multiple? And then they just have to put one or the other. So they have to be present at that moment to answer the simple, it's like a yes or no question, but it's content based. and it might come in the first 10 minutes or after half an hour or after an hour, because my synchronous lectures are 80 minutes. So they can't just turn on and then disappear. And I'm pretty impressed with them hanging in there. They're doing pretty well.
Behnaz, in my college, Saleh Community College, we're not allowed to make them to turn on the camera, but sometimes I ask them friendly to turn on the camera, just I want to get them to know. And also at the first of the semester, I ask a student to come to the individual meeting with me, and actually I make them to come individual meeting for 10 minutes, just me and the students individually talk to each other, turn on the camera, and they can talk about their concern free of stress, because they are not in front of the class. I can see them. And also during the class, I just ask them question, one after other, just to make sure they are working and participating, ask them about the content, and sometimes just simply ask them, are you here, guys? Send me a yes if you're here. And it's really worked for me. I don't know.
I like it. I like your idea of, meeting with them in person the beginning of the semester. What a lovely idea. Yes, I love it. So all I've been hearing is that most of you have been having synchronous sessions with your students. Now, anyone here who's fully online, and how do you deal with those live sessions? Do most of your students attend those live sessions? Cats and dogs.
I have some classes that are online. I also have some that I do a virtual class in, so it's kind of a combo. But the ones that are online, I make videos and I actually use OneNote and record it with Camtasia, so I can be writing, and showing the steps. And they have a worksheet that goes along with it that they can print out, and they take their own notes as they're watching the video, and that makes their notebook.
But
so I think it works.
Live session that they are there and you are there at a certain time.
Not for the online classes, no. But I do have other classes that are like that. That are, I have some that are asynchronous and some that are synchronous. And the ones that are synchronous, yes, they're there live for the class. I have trouble getting them to turn on the cameras, and I'm not very pushy because I'm a little afraid I can't ask them to, you know what I mean? But I kind of encourage it, but I'm unsuccessful. So I wish I knew how to do a better job of getting them to turn their cameras on. I have to do what others have said, ask questions and have them chatted in, which they do, the ones that are paying attention anyway, and things of that nature. But for the classes that are totally online, I use videos, recorded videos, and they can watch the video and take the notes and then go from there. So they're still kind of getting somewhat of a live class, but it's recorded ahead of time,
Yeah. That's interesting. Now, the other question I have is that ever since we had the pandemic, how has been your relationship with your department, with your superiors? How supportive were they of your needs, of your professional development needs, of your technological needs?
Well, we have a Center for Professional Development. I work at Corning Community College, and the director there is extremely helpful. And pretty much I can email her anytime I want to with any problem, and I'll get an answer. So I feel that I was pretty supported overall.
Awesome.
We've been very supported. We were talking about the Wacom tablets earlier. My assistant dean actually figured out that we could probably use them. So last spring, actually, he went online. They were having a sale, and so he bought a whole bunch of those. The Echo pens, they're allowed. We actually, they said that we could actually reserve our classrooms if we wanted to teach from our classroom and without the students there if we wanted, and to project anything that we really need, as long as it's not too expensive. They're right there. And so the students, for our students, we have provided laptops. We have provided a place for them to go for Wi-Fi and everything else. Even in the worst of times, we've done that. Food, mental health services, we have the whole gambit for them.
Awesome.
I think our biggest thing is our faculty misses each other. We don't get to hang out as much as we used to. Recently, we've created Teams sites for every course, but we also have a general one. And faculty, we're constantly putting stuff on the message board on Teams. In fact, while we're meeting, 3 messages popped up of people discussing things. So as much as we're missing each other, we found a way that we still have that connection. And as soon as a problem pops up, we have somebody answering it. And actually, it's made our 5 campuses become more like one, because everybody's really interacting with each other. So that was definitely a plus that we found as well.
And what kind of topics do you all interact with each other about?
The one guy just posted, he used Proctorio for the first time today, and he put a vomit face on, and he said how bad it was. And the department chair just mentioned something about, what were the issues? I'll look into it. But anybody has anything, they put it on and it's answered right away. Mostly technology, proctoring and new software. Somebody will find something and put on. I'm using Calendly for my office hours. Works great, and it's free and it's simple. And so we have a lot more interaction. Oh, another message just popped up on Teams. They just keep coming. And so, we've gotten closer by not being together, sort of backed into it.
That is awesome. And someone here said that they have a 4 p.m. coffee hour meeting on Teams every Tuesday. What a lovely idea. Yes, that would bring everyone together. And I don't know, after pandemic, if anyone wants to go back in the distance. Oh, this is going to be another challenge for all of us. So anybody else? What else do you all do at your school? Sophia, you were going to say something?
We are a small school, so it's very easy to stay connected. So our administrators were very good. First of all, our tech people, they'd do boot camps every week. We have a schedule, they record them, they post them, they meet with you one-on-one if you need to. But our provosts have a Thursday provosts hour open to everybody, staff, administrators, anybody, faculty, and people just come in and just say whatever they want. Like last week, the complaint was why in the commencement program, the names of the staff members of the college are no longer in. I'm like, okay, that's a little irrelevant to the purpose of this, but they have managed to build community and let people vent and do whatever they want. So it was nice.
Yeah.
Our college, our president has what she calls the weekly desk side chats, on Mondays.
Wow.
And provides us with all this wonderful information. And then once a month, well, we've always done this, once a month on each of the main campuses. We have 3 main campuses, 3 extension centers. And on each of the 3 main campuses, they have what they call an open forum, which is where there's a topic of the month that everybody at all 3 campuses gets, and the president and all of the VPs and everybody else is supposed to go to all of those. Okay. So anyhow, those are usually a half an hour on a topic, and then updates from different committees in different areas in the college. And then it's open floor, ask whatever you want, and someone will ask. Okay. So because we went online, they've become the open forum, once a month. And we just had ours yesterday, our first one for the semester yesterday. And what they do is they talk about, the president sometimes the president talks about things like she talked about our restructuring yesterday. And then there's other times when we talk about other things for the whole time. So it just depends on the topic of the month and what people really need. And it's not necessarily for faculty, it's for faculty, staff, everybody, okay? And so anyhow, she does the same thing. But they don't do the updates of the committees anymore. What they do is the topic, and they spend at least an hour talking on the topic, and then they open it up for questions and allow us to ask questions, whether we voice it ourselves. Well, we have to type it in, and they type it up there, but it doesn't matter if we do it anonymously or with our names attached to it, which is kind of interesting because people will be more open and ask different questions because it's anonymous.
Awesome. So what I hear, the sense is that this pandemic has brought us all a lot closer, right? A collaboration between different departments, different areas of our colleges and universities. So it only had to take the pandemic to bring us all together, right? So if we were informed, we would have come together. We didn't really need the pandemic, but oh well. I just want to give you a heads up for something that is coming up in the month of March, right, Christine?
Yes, ma'am.
We are going to start a book club. And I will have Christine to go ahead and make the announcement what book we are going to read first. It is called Small Teachings by James M. Lang. So the announcement will go out soon, but it is a wonderful idea. This book club is open to readers and non-readers. So if you have not read the book, you're more than welcome to attend. We love to have you there. So this is as part of the plan. So then once we meet on that day, let me just tell you the date. Those of you that are here, you are privileged to have the date. So it is going to be March 16th, which is Tuesday at 3 p.m. So March 16th at 3 p.m. So if you can provide the book, is Christine bringing wine? I don't know, I'm not a drinker, so Christine's all up to her what she wants to do. So it is not a bad idea, and I've heard lots of things about this book. So did you manage to get the book pretty quickly?
Yeah, yes, I ordered it and got it 2 days.
Oh, okay.
So I did get the as you can see, I got the physical hardbound copy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also get it apparently Kindle, Nook, that kind of thing.
Is there any funding available for that? I do not know.
Not that I know of, Beverly.
If you know of any, you mean for wine?
Huh.
Just remember, this is a MATIC.
I know.
Session.
No,
No wines are allowed.
no smoking during board meetings. I know.
Yes.
Darn.
That's still in PPM. You're not allowed to smoke during a board meeting.
Yes. So I hope that you all can join us. So order the book. The announcement will go out soon. When I say soon, in the next 2 or 3 days. And we love to have you on board, and let us begin the discussion. There is so much learning that we can have from each other. There is so much talent around the nation. Julie, I have noticed that you haven't uttered a word, and I want to hear something from you, my friend.
She's muted.
I didn't know when to jump in. So I was I've got everybody on my big screen. So I'm trying to look at faces and it's hard to anticipate when there's a break, right? In this kind of setting, you don't read the people, but I do synchronous. So when you guys were talking about, getting people to come to class and to turn their cameras on. So yesterday I give group quizzes. That really gets them in the door. Group quizzes. But there were a couple people that didn't come to my class on time yesterday, and I use Remind. And so when they were in their breakout rooms, this one kid, he's by himself, and I went to go see him. I said, I am going to go get on your group mates right now. And he's like, okay, if nobody comes, it's okay, Mrs. Gunkelman. I'm like, no, it's not. So I sent Remind messages to everybody, and I'm like, are you coming to class? We got a quiz. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, they're there.
Oh.
So I just harass them until they come. So, and
That
I
is-
do get my students to turn their cameras on. I talk about the importance of connecting with each other. And I let them use a virtual background if they don't want to show their surroundings. And I also, I let them have breaks. So when I'm talking, I'm a flipper too. And I can't remember who said that they were a flipper, but so I don't talk a lot during the meetings. They're doing a lot of things unless they can't figure something out. So when I'm explaining something, I give them camera breaks so that they can not look at it. And I also teach them that they don't have to look at themselves. You can hide your self view so that if you're self-conscious about it, like they usually don't care that somebody else is seeing them. They think it's weird when they're talking and they're seeing themselves. Because in a normal conversation, you don't see yourself, right? Yeah. I've also tried Flipgrid this semester. So it's like a discussion board, but it's video. And so I've done math and not math because I don't remember who said that they did discussion boards, but I have failed miserably at discussion boards. So this is somewhat better, and it also gets them practicing to look at the video of themselves. So
that is awesome. That is awesome. And one other announcement I have is that if you or anyone you know at your school that is willing to take part in the teaching tip videos, just shoot me an email. I have new participants in this project, and I hope that you have looked at the professional development page, especially the teaching tip videos. We have got wonderful videos posted there, beautiful new techniques that faculty had used, and more are to come. So if you are a willing partner, just shoot me an email. I would love to have you on board because this is a project for everyone around the nation, and we will just have a short Zoom meeting together and we'll go from there. So just remember that, okay? Anything else? Any final words before we call it a day? Until the next time. And if anything, any thoughts come to your mind, like what Dan said to me about, different sites that we can go and check about cheating and so on and so forth, just let me know what other topics are of interest to you so that we can have the future faculty meetups on these, because these are faculty driven. These are not my ideas. In fact, today's meeting was the idea given to me in the month of July that finally got implemented. So I listen carefully to what faculty say. So
I do have a request.
Sure.
Can we have a transcript of the chat as well? Because there's been a lot of very interesting things in the chat. And what I found is recordings, you can't access what was going on in the chat. So there were several different places that were suggested, several different things that were suggested over the course of the hour. And I think that would be very valuable.
Absolutely. I will make sure that this is shared there also. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Chris, just go in the chat and copy and paste the whole thing into a document.
Oh,
Just
okay.
go
I was
highlight
more,
it.
all right. How do you do that?
Just click and scroll over everything, do a Control-C, and then open a Word document, paste it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dan.
See,
I'm going to try and see if it copies right now before
I
you
am a
go.
nice guy compared to what people will say about me.
Yeah.
One final, my college present offers office hours for students, staff, and faculty. What a lovely idea. Wow.
Dan, it didn't work.
It didn't.
Go
take your mouse, click in the chat window, do Control A and it'll select it all, and then